so much. It was hard to kind of isolate this down to 1 hour. Doggone it. I needed to run in there and grab my other computer, but I guess we're okay. I'm not gonna worry about it.
Nice. That whole setup right there.
Huh?
Everything. The color that you're wearing, the picture, the wall.
Oh, good.
Perfectly coordinated.
Thank you. About time, huh?
Well, that will be your stuff.
Well, yeah, whatever. Yeah.
I think it's nice.
Yeah, thank you though. Yeah, I was meaning to clean off my desk yesterday, but I had to run out and cut my grass. And so I started cutting the grass and I got to the last little bit of it. And why did my lawnmower cut off? So I got all of this grass cut, and then there's this one strip that is all long and crazy, and it's just like, doggone it. And then I had to run in the house and do my yoga. But through all of that, it was even while I was dealing with my lawnmower and cutting the grass and doing all the stuff that, you know, I do every year, I was amazed at, I felt like, you know, Superwoman. It was like I pulled the string and it was just like, like, usually I'm like asking the guy next door, can you pull this string for me? Girl, I'm like, oh, let me see. I got to get me some heavier weights now. It feels good. I'm so excited. I feel like,
Which weights? What size weights? What weight do you have now?
I think that so I got those hand dumbbells, and I think that the heaviest ones, I gave my brother the 15 pounders.
Oh, okay.
I think that the heaviest ones I have are like, I think it's like 11. I got one that's 8 pounds. He gave me his purple ones that were 8 pounders. And then I think they say 11 pounds on these other big bulky ones. So
okay.
Some, you know.
Right. Yay.
All of that stuff. My push-ups should be enough, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Shoot, all of this I'm lifting. It's like, so, okay. So I think we're pretty live.
Yeah.
So good morning, everybody. Good morning.
Morning.
Hey. Yeah, I'm so excited about this. And okay, so you're off camera. Okay, so you guys, Stephanie already told me that she'll be on and off camera during this broadcast. So, but she'll still be in earshot and will,
yeah, my mic is still on.
Yeah. So, anyway.
I know, that's me too today. I'm just like, ta-da, it is what it is.
Yeah, you know, and sometimes it is so much just running to get to in my seat on time, and so we're still not on time, but
right.
You know, just sometimes the struggle is real in the morning. But I am enjoying my mornings.
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, I think the intentions of getting here and then being in motion just makes this all worthwhile, even if it's 4 minutes late or 6 minutes late. It's just the intention of it. Just for me, the motivation is the intention. So it just feels good. It's a lot. Do get a lot done between 3 o'clock and this moment right here. It's a lot that goes on. But you know, so it's done.
So I get a lot done too, but you know, I'm not getting up until 4. I got up this morning about 4:20. Because I woke up before my alarm clock went off. And even with that, as I'm reading the 5 a.m. club, I am really trying to change my room around. So one of the things that they said
For
is
darkness?
no. One of the things it says is that you should like your room should be what I don't want to say technology free, but free of electronics. And he says,
Yes.
and if you need a clock in there, get one of those old fashioned clocks that runs by a battery.
Yes.
So this morning I left my phone in the kitchen on the charger. And so I didn't want to take it in the room with me, because he says that that's one of the worst things that we do is we wake up
Wake
with
up
our,
and touch the device.
yeah. And so I left it in the kitchen, and instead I set my other radio. Well, it came on, and as soon as it came on, I was hearing, I don't know if it was an advertisement, but I was like, okay, I don't want that either. Yeah, I don't want that either. So I was like, okay. But I will say that right after that, they played this Tony Braxton song. So I was like, okay, let me just do some stretches here until the Tony Braxton song goes off. And then I clicked that off, and then I was off and running. So
Okay.
it was good. It was good. So good morning, Erica.
Erica.
So thank you for always doing that, because it's really helpful when you say good morning. Hey, Everett.
Good
You're
morning.
already too. Good morning, Everett. Good morning. Good morning. I am excited. So first off, and let me apologize, Stephanie, yesterday in the midst of us talking, I was like, we not on principle 2 yet. And I was like, oh, we are all in principle 2. I was like, okay, Stephanie got our organization right, even if I don't. I just be talking, and it's like, yeah. So yes, we were all in it. So my apologies to you.
No worries.
So and I love people who have that really organizational mind, because I'm not all that. You see me still trying to get my desk in order over here.
Yeah, that is something that I do have. But one of the things, talking about pathological thought patterns in the past, that would have like been a thing for me. Like, well, we're on 2, and when are we going to get to 2? And now I just kind of go with the flow. And because I said earlier that I'm using this information for myself to like keep it, so if I think we should be on something and we don't talk about it, it just forces me to go back and read the information again. So it's just going with the flow, as opposed to we got to have it in certain order, like just relaxing and going with the flow. But that's really cool, because there was a season in my life where I would have been like, well, what are we doing? And can you have this noted down, please, so I can hold you accountable?
Like when you first came to that A Course in Miracles class,
yes,
like frustrated with me. but it's all good. Sometimes we just gotta.
So this has been my learning journey to, still be me, but just chill out. Like, it's gonna be okay. And it is all okay.
All right. So Father, Mother, God, we give thanks for this moment. We give thanks for this space and this time, this venue, knowing that you are everywhere, equally present. Where each and every one of us is in fullness, you are there. So we thank you that the words and the thoughts and everything that is shared here is filled with your light, love, and wisdom of the understanding of the highest. We as we invite our spiritual partners into this space with us, we just recognize all of this as good, on point, on time. And we just relax in that, knowing that all is good and all is well. We bless it, and so it is.
It is.
Man, y'all, you know what? One of the things that I'm always aware of is that even when we are not aware of, exactly how it's supposed to go, I'm always of the mindset that spirit basically, will allow us to hear exactly what we're supposed to hear, exactly what's for us, right? Regardless of whether or not I say it that way or you say it that way. It's like it comes out and we get what we're supposed to get out of it if we just trust. And sometimes what we do is our ego will wrestle with stuff, right? Because and that wrestling is on purpose too. So if somebody is sitting there thinking about, oh, that girl, I don't like the way she pray. What is that mother, father, God stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes
Okay.
it brings up stuff for us for review, to really check and see what awareness is powerful. Awareness is powerful. And so if you are in the, what did we call it yesterday? Belief patterns or pattern of thought. If you are in one of those things, this becomes something that you can look at too. What is my habitual go-to whenever something like this comes up? Is it to keep scrolling past? Is it to criticize how they articulate their words? Is it to, because I will tell you that I like that.
You can see that.
I can. I can't see it. Yeah. Okay,
Wow.
I can. So um so there's so many ways that we try to erect barriers so that we can't hear or we can't get what it is that's supposed to be coming in. But guess what? Gotcha.
Oh, it's so true.
Yeah. So, Erica said, bring that back.
I was trying to find a picture to put on here so when I have to leave the
uh,
screen, it doesn't look like I'm not here, but I'm here, but I'm just listening and
it
able to
may,
talk.
yeah, it might do that anyway from what we're on. As soon as you cut your camera off, it may automatically take your block off,
Okay.
but
All
we
right.
can still hear your voice.
Okay, good.
But
Okay.
I think that that's the way it goes. So yeah, the patterns of thought, I think Erica was saying that she really liked that yesterday. The patterns of thought, I think, are really illuminating when it comes down to us really kind of taking inventory or stock of what it is that what we already have in our consciousness. So if mine's is always that go to that somebody took who stole my cheese, if that's my habit of thought, then I know it always goes there. If it's somebody is always going to lie to you or cheat on you, you're going to be the last one hired, first one fired. If whatever that pattern of thought is, you apply it regardless of the situation, because that is your go-to stuff. And so we've got to figure out how then do we change that up if it's something that we want to get rid of, and not necessarily take an appeal for it. One of the things that I've noticed is that sometimes there is a certain conditioning that says that we're almost like we're supposed to think in a particular way. Like the conditioning right now is to say, oh, this pandemic is causing so many issues and so many problems, and and people are having there is a race conscious belief that wants to say that and wants to hold on to it as true. But there are a lot of people that are having the best time of their life right now. And so because our work situations have changed, we're no longer going out all the time. Our food, that's changing. People are rediscovering things about themselves that they did not know before, getting quiet. I mean, there's so many good things that are going out.
A lot. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so if what we have is this race conscious belief that everything has to be terrible, even when you're having a good experience, you begin to try to mirror what somebody else says because they're already saying, well, how are you making it through this? Like, fabulous.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
but a lot of people don't want to speak to that.
Yeah.
So how do we be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, right? Not by the ways of the world, not by what other people are saying or what they're mirroring to you, but by the renewing of your own consciousness, your own mind.
Yeah. Giving ourselves permission. I was pondering on that today. That like the things that we've been talking about, forgiveness, self-forgiveness, and the negative thoughts and or whatever, our belief systems. Um, if we don't renew our minds, we will never get this.
Yes. Oh, you know, so one of the things that I really try to get people to do is be aware of being aware.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, um so when even when me with me and I talk to people about meditation all the time because meditation is so good, so rich. Yesterday during yoga, Vanita is going through, that's our Tuesday night yoga instructor. She is going through another yoga training.
Okay.
And I love it when your yoga teacher starts to take yoga classes because then they start coming in with new
Stuff.
stuff to try on you, right? So she gets in the class and she starts this meditation, and we've all got to sit there and we got to ground down into the space. And then she started talking about, she was like, imagine that your spirit is bigger than what you are. And then she says, as we sort of expand it, and this is something I used to do in the closet by myself anyway. I used to have this image when I was meditating in the closet. And I know this is not everybody's cup of tea because some people go start meditation and they see all kind of stuff. I don't know what it is that people get, but they have, people go through some weird stuff. But I would go in the closet and I would see my spirit like the Pillsbury Doughboy on Ghostbusters, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it
Mm-hmm.
just kind of keeps going and going. And sooner or later, it transcends the walls of my closet and then of
Okay.
my house. And I can I can grow to that point. And so she did an exercise that was similar to that, telling us to send our spirit up. And then she said, pay attention to the noises in the room. And
Take
then
them out to the street.
yes. And then keep expanding that. And then she says, now look back at yourself.
That was so
So,
good.
yes, it was such a interesting. And a lot of times what people say is that they can't see something like that. But if you allow yourself to imagine that you do, it opens up some wonderful things. So when I talk about some of my healing meditation, what I do is I'm sending my consciousness into the different regions of my body. And even as it's saying, no, 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 don't come in here, don't come in here. Once I come in there with some love, it's like, what are you saying to me? What is this gurgling saying to me? What, what do you need? What is it that is at work? And so that's one of the things that this book and so many of it, so many like it are so powerful in is that when we've got stuff going on, whether it's in our intestinal tract,
Mm-hmm.
if it's in our lower back, it's in our knees. We can ask questions of our body. What are you trying to say to me? And then we can choose to make the changes or the adjustments accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were talking about the other day with the guy who had the pancreatic cancer. He goes and he says to, he's trying to find a solution to what he's going through. And when he was told, maybe you need to give up your dentistry, your dentist practice. Maybe you need, and he's like, oh no, I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Why not? And it was because so much of his identity was trapped in what he did for a living. And all of us do this, right? Don't get me wrong, because all of us do this. It's amazing if you know anybody. It's my brother's birthday today. So I don't want to call my brother a politician, but now he's holding an elected office, I guess he is. But if you have ever seen somebody who either they can be in elected office or they can just hold some office of that's public or not, but we
Mm-hmm.
get derive so much of our power from our position, from our titles, from how people perceive us. When I was doing a radio show before and that radio show ended, I never realized how much of who I was invested in that, right?
Right.
And so we put our power, we derive our sense of power from those things of how we define ourselves. Am I making that, is that clear?
Yes.
So I mean, so when you came here, they did at first didn't recognize your license, right?
Right.
You're a marriage and family therapist, and that's been what, that's your shingle.
Mm-hmm.
And so to come here and not have that recognized was
Yeah.
a journey for you.
Mm-hmm. But it was good, but it was hard. And it was one that I was expecting, but it was good and it was hard. And you do have to practice laying aside the intention and understanding that this is going to work itself out somehow. Um, it forced me to get in beast mode, which is so cool because I wasn't in beast mode. I was in another mode and I needed to be in beast mode. So, but what about the people or persons that can't make the switch?
Right.
Because like the guy in the book, like you can't make the switch. You can't take the lean, like I say in couples and marriage, family counseling, is that if we lean in, we all got to lean. We can't, one person can't say straight up while the other person is leaning the bike. We're going to crash. And a lot of times people don't want to go with the lean, from diet to, people who can have throat cancer and still smoke.
Mm,
Um, being aware that I'm aware or I'm not aware or that I'm
right.
resisting, like paying attention to that.
Right.
No, you are right on the money. Like, no, makes absolute sense. We got to pay attention to what we're paying attention to.
Right. But and it's always curious to me the people who won't make the adjustments. I remember having a girlfriend who she was struggling with some fibroid tumors, and those bad boys was wreaking havoc. And the doctor told her to give up stuff like sugar and chocolate. And she
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh no. And I was thinking,
Mm-hmm.
what? I was, and maybe that's one of the reasons why I have a tendency to quit so many things. Like, let me just cut this out because I want to say the stuff in my life. You're not the boss of me, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Just
yeah.
so if I need to cut out coffee for a while, I'm gonna cut out coffee. If I need to, if I need to cut something out of my diet or out of my life, you know, that's an exercise that I try to do because I want to feel like I'm running this.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a scripture, and I don't know which letter it is, but it was written by Paul. I think it was in Corinthians, but a letter that was written by Paul that he talks about, bringing our bodies under subjection.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and
And
it's
it is
like
something to
it's necessary.
practice. And maybe that was the intention of Lent once upon a time, to bring the body up under subjection, because we become so habitual, and people don't want to feel the pain of the withdrawal
Mm-hmm.
of an experience. So I can
Good
understand.
morning, Nasia.
Good
Um,
morning.
yeah. So it is, I think, it's one of those things that is necessary to get a hold of, is just this thing that who's in control here. Is it my mind or is it my body? And when you start to think about it in those terms, let me tell my body, because my brother said getting ready to get ready. One of the things that I do is when we first started exercise, and it's like how hard this is. And so there was just this, like, I'm my mind is willing, but my mind was telling me yes, but my body was saying no.
No.
you know
Here we go.
and at a certain point, just you keep pushing, until you have that breakthrough, and the breakthrough does come. Yay.
Yes, it does. It does.
So that's kind of like what we've been focused on, the forgiveness piece, and just doing the upfront work, then talking about those patterns, the thought patterns, but also that how all of this stuff, our biology becomes our biography. That was the first
Yes.
principle. And now as we talk about power, we're talking about it in terms of what our habitual patterns are, our belief patterns are. But I wanted to spend a few minutes talking about where we derive our sense of power from. And so I don't know if you've been doing the little stuff that I kind of say, whether it's to write down the stuff that you guys need to forgive, what it is that comes up when you think about that. And I know for me, stuff keeps cropping up. It's crazy. I was, because when I think that I have forgiven all that I need to forgive, then I'd start thinking about, oh, I need to forgive myself, because I have,
Primary.
yeah,
I said it's primary.
yeah, I need to forgive myself, because there have been times when I can sit there and think to myself, like, man, I wasn't very nice or considerate, or, there have been times when I have to really be honest with myself when I did not show up in ways that could have been, I could have chosen different.
Mm-hmm.
I could have chosen differently. And so I think about those times too, and what those, what that has to say. So I'm forgiving myself, and then asking for forgiveness retroactively. And one of the things that the Course in Miracles says is that when we heal in the present, we heal our time.
Right. Yeah, we collapse time.
Yeah.
Whenever we are in reality.
Yes.
Collapse time. Whenever we are in our truth, we
Right.
collapse time. Yeah.
Yeah. So don't think that when we're saying do this forgiveness work, don't think that it's just about what you did yesterday, right? Or last week or something. The forgiveness work like Stephanie just said, we collapse time. So that goes back and it heals stuff that may have happened 10, 20 years ago. That healing is necessary. It sounds like, yeah, well, I think that forgiveness, Erica says it sounds like we're working the 12 steps. I think that forgiveness is a principle that Jesus already said, way back when. I don't know what all the 12 steps are. So forgive me if I'm trying to make it just about making amends, because that's not all of it. But so I don't know. I don't know what the 12 steps are, to be honest. I know that the first step is that you got to admit it. You got to admit something, right? And I know that forgiveness is a principle in there, but I don't know all the 12 steps. So maybe if as we come up on a step, maybe you can tell us when we are doing one of the 12 steps. I don't know.
Well, I think, but even if we don't know what the 12 steps are, I think that because it has been known to be a success for people who are struggling with strongholds, addictions, that's fine too. Like that, yeah, whether it's a step or not, I know one thing, it comes and you got to keep doing it, whatever it is. We definitely all have to keep doing it, and it works for everybody. And maybe that's why it's in the 12 step program. I think that's really cool, because it is important, because most people who have addictions are operating from some type of internal pain or discrepancy, internal discrepancy in their heart spaces. So, I think it's cool that, that's neat. Whoever's supposed to hear that, needs to hear that. I think that is really cool. Yeah.
Okay. So where do you derive power from, right? Where do we derive power from? And we can see it so clearly when other people do it, right? This idea of what do people hang their hats on? So sometimes there are folks who will get a sense of power from their level of intelligence or their perceived level of intelligence. Sometimes it is the degrees that they have, a zip code.
That's rich.
Yeah. There are, there are so many ways. Let me see. How many degrees, what your position, your title is. Some people will talk about it. Grill masters, or the people who, they are great entertainers, or they can cook better than anybody else. They can, sometimes it's the loudest person at the party. Sometimes even the quiet wallflower, it has some type of something that they get, that they derive their power from. We talked the other day about the woman who got her power from her children. I remember when that same teacher that said I had horns coming out of my head on some days, he went around the room and he asked the class a question like, what made us special? I guess we were supposed to. And I remember saying to him, I'm a bishop. And he looked at me and he was like, what does that mean? And I said, I'm a bishop. Because everybody else was giving some kind of other answers. And I was like, I'm a bishop. And he was like, what does that mean? He was like, that's like an accident. He was like, you didn't have any choice in that. You were just born into a family named Bishop. How is that something that's, that you, and I was thinking,
what? You see?
Must not know my family. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, whoever this teacher is, he or she is a bubble burster. I can tell you.
but it becomes one of those things where even as people get this thing about I'm an American, proud to be an American. Well, that's an accident of your birth, unless of course you were born in another country and you just chose to come here. It's an accident. We actually have absolutely nothing to do with that. This is where so there are so many things that we try to put our energy in without just recognizing that simply because you are right, just you're a child of God, or you may not be a child of God, you may just claim to be you, but who you are is significant and important,
right?
And it doesn't have to be for anything, but I do say that to be oneself, to be authentically who you are, is majorly important, because you wouldn't be here if you did not have something about you that was special or unique, or or just wonderful.
And that's the truth.
Yeah.
So what do we do with that? So what do we do with that when we're not aware of that? Or what?
So sometimes what I think that, so what becomes problematic though is that when we derive our sense of self or our power through comparison, right? Thinking that we better than,
or less than,
right? We compare ourselves to each other. At least I'm not, we derive a sense of superiority from whether we think is our money or our clothes or any old number of things, right? We have this sometimes we create these things. I remember when I was younger, I used to get off on some interesting stuff, right? And I remember telling this guy about who I would date and who I wouldn't date, and just being, I guess, I don't know if I want to say, but I was trying to be really full of myself.
okay,
But I was really trying to find myself.
yes,
I wanted to find what made me valuable, right? And what made me valuable wasn't about the stuff. We try to externalize all of that, and it wasn't about any stuff. That's one of the insidious things, that we think that is the stuff, is what, and that's what I think the love languages were based on, that we have a interesting way of engaging with other people, which means that sometimes we focus on that stuff, what I can do for you, what I can give to you. It it's all this stuff. Okay. So the other piece on this is I brought my sacred contract book in here.
Oh, I wish you had warned me. I would have tried to dig mine out.
Oh, and let me say this.
Came up for you.
Well, so I wanted to talk about a number of things. Power symbols. Let me read this, and then I'm going to switch over to share with you something out of sacred contract, because Carolyn Miss does say to us that as Americans, we come with a certain set of archetypes,
Yes.
which is overriding. How do you describe a archetype? Like an energy?
It is an energy. It is an energy. I would say a personality. but I don't know what that means to everyone. But,
that that informs how you see yourself, or
right.
something you
Yes.
resonate to. I'll say it
Yes.
like that. So we resonate to certain types of archetypal figures. It's almost like, I know Erica said that she's not into astrology, but it's almost like when in an astrology,
Oh, yeah.
serve as archetypal figures. And so if say for instance we know that Leos act in a particular way versus how a Pisces may act versus how a Cancer may act, and when we bring those things to mind, we get certain type of
Photos. Yeah.
things that people resonate to. It doesn't mean that everything is dead on the money of
Right.
how they are, but they resonate to a
But
certain.
there's a prominence, a dominant energy, a dominant way of being that, and it is really, in my humble opinion, it is really etched in stone, because so many people have said, yes, that's me. Yes, it's affirmed, like, yeah, that's me. That's my archetype, or that's my sign. Like that makes sense because it's me and it's affirmed. And I think there's 12 archetypes, right? Are there 12?
No, there's a whole bunch of
There's a whole
archetypes.
bunch.
Yeah, you
Okay.
get no, you get really, they try to limit you down to 12 that resonate for you.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but there's a whole slew of
Okay.
archetypes, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I want to talk about that in just a minute. I want to read this first, and then I'll jump into that, right? So our lives, this is what Carolyn Miss is saying out of in Anatomy of the Spirit. Our lives are structured around power symbols: money, authority, title, beauty, security. People who fill our lives and the choices we make each moment are expressions and symbols of our personal power. We often hesitate to challenge a person who we believe holds more power than we do. We frequently agree to things because we believe we haven't the power to refuse. In countless situations and relationships, the underlying dynamic at work is the negotiation of power, who has it, and how we can maintain our share of it. And so she says that in there, she was like, energy information is always truthful. Although a person may verbally agree to something in public, his energy will state how he really feels, and his real feelings will find their way into some symbolic statement. And so we all have to become conscious of our, of the kind of power that we perceive ourselves to have, and what then that means for each of us. 12 for you, and connect to 12 houses of the zodiac, your personal chart. Okay. So in Sacred Contracts, there is, this is another book by Carolyn Miss, because one of the things that she did is in her doing this energy healing and energy medicine, what she found out is she would go out to all of these places, and people would, come and have this notion that she should do all the work, that she should do all the healing. And she was talking about how one day she was just feeling exhausted, and she plopped down in this chair next to this woman. And I think she said, I think she asked the woman how she was doing, and the woman basically made it seem as though it was her responsibility to heal her or to fix her. So her response to that was, okay, instead of me doing this work all the time, because this is exhausting and it's intense and all that stuff, instead of me doing all this work, I'm going to give you the tools to show you how to do the work. So out of that came this book, Anatomy of the Spirit, and this book, Sacred Contracts. And sacred contracts is basically one of those things that gives us the verbiage by saying these are the archetypal figures that you could possibly resonate to, just like the zodiac would. And so in this book, she goes through and she I mean, gosh, can you see how many times I've read this book? It's like every time I start highlighting, I make sure that I get a different highlighter so that I can highlight differently than I did the first or second time that I read it. Oh, you guys, I want to talk about this one. Now, when I talk about this is, I think it's important for us to recognize that these things have always been at play in our society. It's not a new phenomena. It's new that we are now paying attention to it, or that we're calling attention to it, but it's not a new phenomena. If you could think about all the nursery rhymes that you've ever heard, or all of the stories that you've ever heard, all of those stories have built within them these kinds of figures. So if you were growing up watching Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, there were subliminal messages that are in there that we resonate to. When you talk about the Wizard of Oz, what Dorothy represented with the lion and the scarecrow and all of them, what the yellow brick road was, what the wizard was, what Toto represented. Everything in there was speaking to a particular symbolic language that people resonate to, and it's there to show us a bigger picture. And so for me, as I look at these things, whether you're talking about Goldilocks and the Three Bears or Sleeping Beauty, those are figures and they have profound meaning. If you're saying mirror, mirror on the wall, those things are all part of the programming that goes on in this mental house. You guys, when I talk about this stuff, I am not necessarily talking about it because you know, because I want to I talk about it because I want you to see that so much of what we have learned has been subtle levels of programming. I mean, when we were kids, we watched Speed Racer, we watched the Flintstones, we watched all of these cartoons and never thought about when Popeye was talking about I'll gladly pay, no, not, it wasn't Popeye, but when he was saying I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today, we were being taught about credit. When we were hearing that the little mouse in the hat was speaking with a Mexican accent, or we were seeing other characters, those were there on purpose. It wasn't by accident that we were seeing the figures that we saw, and they resonate to a particular energy, and that energy informs basically or activates something within us, and we begin to resonate in a particular way to something. So if you were watching Bugs Bunny or Speed Racer, right? What was the message? We can't just look at things passively and not recognize that they are saying something to us, that they are resonating or activating a particular energy within our systems. And without us, when we watch things passively and not see that, then what we do is we play out a game that we have no idea that we're playing, but we have been absolutely programmed, and we keep running the same program over and over again until we get it right. So when I think about this too, I think to myself, what is the purpose and the plan for this, right? When we think about George Floyd, the killings, and Black Lives Matter, and then they try to reframe the conversation on us and say, well, it's really not about what happened with George Floyd. It's really about this property damage and the fact that people have messed with the money. as a result, and this is not okay. And so we want to teach you how to submit. And then we turn around after that, and when they storm the Capitol, right, who's saying submit then, right? It becomes this thing of in certain situations they want you to act in a particular way, and in others it's they're giving permission almost. So we have to begin to look at the message behind the message. One of the things in I teach a diversity and inclusion piece. And, I talk about, because I've been a part of the media, and, I know that sometimes we have certain biases and we don't even recognize that we have the biases or why. It is something that we have learned, and we keep learning and then repeating and then supporting through our actions. And so one of the things that I talked about was during Katrina, how when people were trying to survive, they would show you a picture of a white couple and say that they went out and they found some food, they found some food, but then they show a picture of some Black folks and they called it looting. Well, one person is finding, the other is looting, and it's just based on it, and it's the subtle differences that people can like bypass or look over without recognizing what is being said. Over and over again, we are playing out particular scenarios. So one of the wonderful things about this book is that it asks you to really get clear on some of your thoughts and some of your thinking. Now, let this, I think, is fascinating, because I find that each of us have encountered what she calls a vampire archetype, right? And vampires are people who basically suck your blood or suck the energy from you in order to benefit themselves or whoever they are. And this came out really well in the Celestine prophecy about how people derive their sense of power by trying to render somebody else powerless. And so if a lot of the ideas around power has been based upon making other people submit, right? Your sense of self comes from the power that you can wield over another. It's as if you are sucking energy from them in order for you to have some yourself. You go out onto the street or in a job and you feel powerless. You come home and you take that out on your wife or your children, because then you need to offset that sense of loss that you have in one arena by offsetting it and getting more in a different one. And so you see these dynamics as they play out in different situations throughout your life. I think that so we can talk about vampires and how sometimes you get into vampire relationships, and those vampire relationships you submit to, or you give willingly this thing of yourself over and over again. And you have to be aware that you are in one of those relationships in order to break yourself out of that cycle. How does that play out? I don't always know what it looks like, but a lot of times if you come away from that feeling as if somebody has made you like, oh, you're lucky I'm with you, right? Or they are making it seem like nobody else is going to want you, only me. I'm the only person that you can get what you're getting from in this relationship from me. There are so many different ways that people play out this type of thing. So let me see if I can pull this up for you just for a second, because I really am not trying to dwell on the vampire, but I think that it was really interesting when I first came across the vampire, how interesting it was. And it talks about it. I'm going to read to you what it says, because I think that this is really interesting. The vampire returns every evening to his source of life until there is no more to be had. The parallels between human lust and vampire bloodlust are rich. As the vampire satisfies his thirst for blood, his host grows increasingly helpless and submissive, eventually being drained of any capacity for self-protection. Symbolically, this relationship speaks to the power dynamic that frequently drive male-female relationships, in which the male drains the power of the female for his own psychic survival. And once bitten, the female submits, even though this will eventually take all her power. And so sometimes it says that the roles are actually reversed. But beyond the sexual level, we sometimes form psychic attachments to others because we desire their energy. You guys will remember, let me give you an example of this. Remember, what is that movie? Michael J. Fox played in it, and it was Back to the Future. Back to the Future, that was the movie. And if you can remember the energy dynamic between Biff and Michael J. Fox's father, Biff would beat up Michael J. Fox's father all the time. And it was as if him bullying him, he got a sense of power from it and was held in a certain esteem in the circles that he traveled in because of his physical and brute strength. It didn't matter whether or not he was smart or not, but because he was athletic and brute strength, he basically derived or sucked the power from whoever it was that played Michael J. Fox's father. But then when they went back into the past and Michael J. Fox messed with the timeline, the energy dynamic changed, because now all of a sudden he stood up to Biff and he punched Biff, which then now meant that as they move forward back into the future, then all of those dynamics changed. The house that they lived in, all of those things changed. This is the same type of dynamic that we see going on. Sometimes it is the subtle shifts. She says that there are no small choices, that every choice that we make has something to do in our timeline with how we are in the world. So yes, Back to the Future it's got that same type of thing. And as you watch the dynamics change, it'll give you some kind of indication of the things that are at play in our lives. And so sometimes we see people who never really get out of these roles. Sometimes they become stuck in there because they never figure out how to reclaim their power for themselves. So let me see. Beyond this, the sexual thing, we sometimes form psychic attachments to others because we desire their energy, a desire that manifests through a need for approval, a need to have others take care of our survival, and the fear of being abandoned. What has been defined as codependent relationships can easily fall under a vampire template, right? And so as you go through that, sometimes you have to really recognize the energy dynamics that you play in a particular relationship. And that could be any relationship. It could be between a husband and wife, or with your kids. It could be in a work situation with coworkers. It can be any number of places. I used to have a woman who, at one point when I was on the radio, there was a woman who used to just kind of hang around me. And she would, because she wanted to hang around me, for whatever reason, because she wanted to hang around me, there was a lot of stuff that she started doing. And I remember the feel of not just her willingness to help out and to step in, but also that adoration and the high that comes along with it, right? The high that comes along with having somebody who seems to always be available to you. There was a certain sense of pleasure that I got from it. But just like with everything else, as you are, as you get a sense of self or pleasure from it, you also have to ask yourself, is this a sustainable energy source? Is this something that you want to sustain over time? And then what is it costing me? What does it cost me in order to accept the energy that was that was being given to me? Because those things, all of it, there is this system of checks and balances, and all of it cost us something. So when you think about power for you, what is it that you derive power from? Now, here's the other thing too, because one of the things that I know it says, and I come as a brother, this book right here. So I think I got my book stuff straightened back out, right? I Come as a Brother by Bartholomew was a really good book. And it said, one of the things that it said in there is that it says that the ego, that one of the biggest games that the ego has is the one of religion or spirituality, because what it does is it says that, "Ooh, look at what I got going for me." Right? It makes it seem as though you have something, a connection that other people don't have. And when you got a connection to God and other people don't have it, or other people are feeling somehow less than, that too, it becomes an ego trip. And so we have to really check ourselves. For me, one of the things that that I do here is I'm trying to tell you that everything that Jesus did, you can do also. Everything that I do, everything that Stephanie, you can do also. This is not something that is outside of your wheelhouse. And so we've got to, as we start to see these things, start to recognize how we give our energy over to particular things, or with, and then if we choose to withdraw it, also withdraw it. Stephanie, did I hear you click back in?
You did. Wow.
Hey.
Like, I was trying to be quiet.
It's okay. It's okay. It's all good. Now, the other archetype that I really wanted to, there's so many, right? There is so many.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it is the martyr or the miser or the mother archetype, ooh. And even in this, one of the things that she tries to do too is to give films that will show you these archetypes in a way that you could really relate to them. And that's why, but all of her films were like older films because she's an older woman. Mm-hmm. So Betty Davis eyes would not be something that most people are familiar with, although I do remember that movie, but it's not something that most people are familiar with. Most people are familiar with Back to the Future because Back to the Future was such a popular movie.
Yes.
And so there are so many different archetypes. But one of the things that I wanted to point out to you was this prostitute archetype. Now, nobody wants to claim this archetype, but all
says who?
And you say that's true.
I said, says who?
Well, yeah, okay. Okay. But all of us, because we are in a capitalistic society, mm-hmm. Yes. All of us struggle with this. So let me read for you just this. And oh my gosh, it's time to go.
It is.
Do I have time to read this?
No.
No. Dang. Yeah, this is it's so important though. you know, I call people a saboteur on a regular basis because I recognize when people are trying to sabotage you. I really, oh, I can't believe I haven't managed my time better.
Oh my goodness, give you a break.
Oh my goodness. So,
There is the amazing experience of tomorrow.
that is so true. But tomorrow I'm liable to be on a different trip. Okay, so but let me just say this. When you think about the prostitute, this is at its core, it is about the idea that we buy and we sell ourselves for interesting things. So sometimes you know we will sell off ourselves for something as minor as an affiliation.
Mhm.
I don't know, you might not see that as minor, but affiliations are one of those things. We could sell ourselves off for food, money, and some people go for pennies on the dollar. you know, and some people set their pricing a little higher, um, but it all kind of reduces to the same thing, that sometimes we sell ourselves out for something.
I think
Sometimes
we're all making some type of energetic exchange. If we can use energy as a currency, that we are all like, you're always exchanging that. And I can't, I want to go find my book because yeah, I'd like to remember that archetype, but that's really a good one. And I was brought to there is a scripture in the book of Revelations that talks about the prostitute and selling and buying, and yeah, like it's a
and
thing.
it's not just women, it's
Oh no, it's a
all of us,
spirit.
right?
Yeah, it's an energy that we all possess.
Right.
That what is it worth to you?
Right. And so, and we do it without necessarily recognizing that we're doing it.
Mm,
So if and um so that guy I was talking about the other day, who I was talking about was so arrogant and everything. I have been around people who dangle carrots in front of you, just like you would dangle in front of a rabbit, and then want somebody to run after it. So what's the carrot that is being dangled in front of you? What gets you to say yes? And yes to what, right? Yes to the house with the picket fence, or
right.
is it something smaller? I don't know. But we have to really think about where it is that we invest our time, attention, our energy, all of that stuff, because it does say something absolutely about us. All right, so with that, I am going to let y'all go.
Yeah, I'll bring this up tomorrow because I want I want to talk about this some more.
Yeah, because it's always interesting to me, and I'm not exempt, even though I know that that happens. When we choose to sell ourselves, make sure that you're setting the price, and that it's something that you can deal with and live with.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it's not, then we are exchanging some of our energy for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Giving away our power
yes,
sometimes in
yes.
that exchange.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So cool. All right, you guys. I
Good.
am so grateful for y'all being here. My energy feels a little different today. I don't know why. I don't know why, but it did. It seemed a little interesting, but it's all good. It's all good.
Stay
All right.
aware.
Yes, yes, yes. All right. So
All right.
we will be here tomorrow. I am so grateful for this and for you and for
Mm,
all of this.
yes. Thank
Thank you
you.
for being here and thank you for being a part of Morning Glory.
Thank you. It is glorious. It's a glorious morning.
Yes. Look, the sun is shining and it's like I'm trying to.
I'm loving it. Oh,
I am too. I am too, but
loving it. I'm loving it.
I can barely see my face when I'm sitting there.
Oh,
Yeah,
we can see you. You look amazing.
it's almost like my features disappear for me when I step into the sunshine. I become one with it. Yeah,
Wow, it's true. It's
yeah,
true.
yeah. All right.
All
So
right, good
yes, I
people.
will see you
Have an
tomorrow.
amazing day.
Same
Yes.
time, same place. All right. Love
All
you.
right. Love you guys.
Yeah.
Have a great day.
All right. So the light of God surrounds you. The love of God enfolds you. The power of God protects you. The presence of God watches over you. Wherever you are, God is, and all is well. Thank you, Gretchen. All right. I'll see you soon.